Hello and welcome everyone to this week's COT review. I'm Thomas from COTbase.com. Today we're going to have a look at the 20th COT report in 2014. Here we go. You can see we've got S&P 500 on top of our list. Actually, all major indexes are on top of our list. There were pretty large changes in these markets. Let's start with the S&P 500, where we had this 32% change in commercials positions, 38 in large speculators. Now these are large numbers, but if you look at the chart, you can see we have even greater changes in the past. Actually, the one I'm just showing you is an effective was a good signal back then. We can find some more examples to see whether these COT change signals are effective. Here you can see an example that we actually have a buy COT change signal while prices start declining afterwards, so that wasn't a good one. But then we've got one following over here, a bullish COT change signal, and eventually prices do continue their rally afterwards. Small speculators are the only one optimistic about the market. That in itself, looking at this 1 year's chart, suggests that prices aren't really expected to go any higher. But of course we know that the wider picture, especially the COT Extreme, tells the real story, at least concerning the longer term. And you can see that we've moved away from these bearish extreme levels. Prices are reaching even higher highs than before. So actually the picture, the COT picture, doesn't really say that we're going to be in for a huge decline at the moment. Actually, the change itself is a bullish signal also. Let's move on and have a look at Dow Jones. We have a 28% change over there in commercials, 37 in large speculators. Here you can see large speculators and commercials being very close to the zero line. Of course, these markets, I don't need to tell you, correlate pretty significantly with each other, so I'm not surprised at all that the picture is a bit similar. Here we may see a bit of a larger extreme than we had in S&P. You may see over here at on commercials extreme that they're at 200 and there are 200 reports extreme. So that's pretty bullish actually, which is interesting seeing prices so high. But hey, that's the picture right now. Basically the COT data says, hey, the rally can continue. That's what it says. Let's skip Russell because it is another index, and just to look at the Japanese yen, where we had this 18% change in commercials positions. Not that large. It is larger, of course, than average. We do see greater changes in the past. Here we can also state that the majority of these COT change signals seem to be effective. So this bearish change signal that we have right now, we should be careful, may affect prices in the near term. But of course, we're always interested in the longer term picture. So we're going to open this 5 year chart. Here we go. You can see that we had this bullish COT Extreme the beginning of this year, basically the end of last year. And since then, prices have rallied a bit, and not too much. So right now what we can state is that this extreme is still in place. Prices have not gone below that level, so we may just need to be a bit patient, and we are eventually going to see rising prices. Or of course, if you look back over here, the picture is very similar. We had this huge bearish extreme. Of course, this was a so-called commercial capitulation. Afterwards, it's of course easy to see, but anyhow, you can see the extreme stayed pretty large afterwards, and then we saw a bit of a rise in prices, but then prices declined back down, going even below the last bottom over here. So it's a big question whether we're going to see the continuation of this little rally we've got here, or the major trend continues and we're going to see lower prices. I myself state that this bullish extreme was the last major signal we had from the COT data, and just by looking at the chart, it may easily be in effect right now. Moving on to large speculators COT Extreme. Here we go. Russell 2000. Well, hey, we're gonna talk about Russell 2000. We've skipped it at commercials changes, but we need to talk about it because we have this 130 report extreme in the market. Of course, similar to the Dow Jones and of course S&P 500 and all the rest of the indexes, we have more of a bullish extreme in the market, which is, of course, again, I have to state it is pretty interesting seeing prices so high, but that's the case. And if we do follow the COT report, then I warn anybody considering major shorts at this level. But on the other hand, let's not forget that COT analysis is, I wouldn't say the most effective in indexes. So we do see in the last 2, 3, 4 years maybe being pretty good. We had some great signals actually. But anyhow, it's up to you to decide which way you think. The COT data, plain straight, it just says, hey, the rally can continue. We've talked about S&P 400. It's going to be very similar. I just want to show you something new. Let's talk about platinum. We have a 64 report extreme, not too big, but hey, let's open the chart and see if we have a visible extreme on this 5-year chart. Here we go. You can see that the extreme is again widening. We are getting closer and closer to these bearish extreme levels. You may see this one over here being pretty effective actually. We had a relative bullish extreme, not a huge one, of course. Even on this 5-year chart you can see greater ones in the past, but anyhow, we're moving in that direction. So hey, you should have your eyes on this market because we may actually reach a top soon. Australian dollar. Okay, let me show you Australian dollar. Our last market for this review. Here we go. Let's open the 5-year chart right away. We have a 54 report extreme over there, so it's not that big. And on this chart, you can see that actually it is not an extreme to talk about, because the last one we had was over here in the beginning of this year, being a bullish extreme and affecting prices right now. So we're seeing prices in rally mode. Of course, we have to say, you know, we do have these relative extremes when the extreme is changing, and of course we have some interim tops in a trend. So we may have that right now. It's very difficult to tell. It's much easier to see the all-time or close to all-time extremes, which in case of Australian dollar and of course commercials I'm showing you right now is around 100,000 contracts, but of course 100,000 contracts for large speculators also. But of course here this would be a bullish extreme. In case of commercials, here we have a more of a bearish extreme if we look at large speculators chart. The opposite side, we would be at below 100,000 contracts net short in case of commercials, if we would want to see a nice bearish COT extreme. So we've still got some space left to reach that level. That would be a clear sign of the end of this rally. Okay, that's going to be all for this week. I hope you enjoyed my review, and I hope to see you next week. Have a great weekend. Take care. Bye-bye.